Welcome to your inspirational astrology horoscope for the weekend of June 17th through the 18th, 2023. I'm Astrologer Dave Palmer, the Leo King, here to illuminate the collective consciousness. Thanks so much for being a part of High Vibe TV. If you're not part of High Vibe TV, what are you waiting for? Not only have there been massive new app updates, it's not even a question anymore what High Vibe TV is. Definitely make sure that you're a member if you want to get all the spiritual content and all the real deal astrology every day, every week, for real. You having fun out there with who knows what we're really dealing with anymore out there? Anyway. Also, for those of you out there in the YouTube, Facebook, wherever world there is, I just did a special event all about the Pluto time warp, all about Pluto coming back into Capricorn and what it means, my predictions of the next 18 months, but especially the deeper aspect of it. You can go to highvibe.tv, click on the watch section, or be on the app and look at the paid video section. It's $25. It's 5 hours long. You really want to know what's going on. You thought it was over? I did this 2 weeks ago. You really thought it was over. Would have been interesting if you would have seen it 2 weeks ago and been like blown away. Definitely check it out. You still got a long way to go till November 2024. All right, let's take a look. It is a big, I just want to say before we look at the charts, there's been nonstop over the last 3 years of just, oh my gosh, this transit and then this transit. Now, usually we look to the new moons as this refreshing moment, especially coming out of eclipse season. But this new moon's tricky. And this is what gives Gemini that energy of being the trickster. At the same token, this new moon is being overshadowed by Saturn that's stationing retrograde hours before in Pisces, which I'm going to be covering. And at the same time, after this new moon, Venus will enter into shadow in Leo, where we are going to see Venus retrograde in Leo for the first time since the 1840s. And we are going to see Venus enter into a new Venus retrograde cycle of Leo for the first time since 1772. So this is not just a new moon with some fluffy talk and about communication and about lost because of Neptune squares. It's a lot more than that. Let's take a look. Definitely a lot more than that. So, I've got the chart before the new moon. Yeah, that's right. That's because before that new moon on Saturday, well, it depends on where you're at. For me, it's going to be Saturday, but for most people, it's going to be on Sunday. But Saturn stationing retrograde in Pisces. Now, this is a big deal because Pisces, of course, like I said earlier, people are going to say it becomes lost. It's the spiritual house, but it's the house of self-undoing. It's the house of where we could feel overwhelmed. It's also the house where everything gets backlogged, and it's the house of endings. So there's a lot of past aspects as well, but Saturn being in karmic in nature, but also about the responsibilities we have about not slipping, about creating events in our life where we're self-undoing ourselves. It's really where we have to learn to catch ourselves in aspects which could feel hard or difficult to deal with, when really it's more about, no, pay attention to what's going on. You don't want to end up in a place that you destroy something beautiful or good. There is a good sign to this that I'll be talking about on this new moon horoscope, which is Saturn is in sextile now with Jupiter. Now, even though Jupiter is in shadow, Jupiter, though, and Saturn, we have not seen a positive aspect for a long time. You have to remember that Jupiter and Saturn met in 2020 on December 21st at 0 degree of Aquarius, where we just saw Pluto make its ingress, but now has come back into Capricorn, right? But with Jupiter here, there's so many gifts that we have, and it's the gifts of what we already have and the experience and really the work that we do to see by the end of Jupiter in Taurus next year, which, by the way, is going to be a Jupiter and Uranus conjunction in Taurus next year. Remember, it was Jupiter, Uranus in Pisces into Aries back in 2010. So we are in a Jupiter-Uranus cycle now. And Jupiter and Saturn, you know, these two energies have not been positive. They've not really been able to work together very positively at all. I mean, for not just since 2020, but even just think of 2019 when Jupiter was in Sag, and then when Jupiter was in Scorpio, and Saturn was on its way into Capricorn, right? So it's been a minute here that we've been able to see a positive aspect, but it's like everything is creating where we can be lost in the mind, lost in the soul, and it's really not seeing the positive in things. This could also be about things of the past that have not worked out, and the time period can go from every past life to 20 minutes ago to 10 years ago, because Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, is there. And why is that important? Well, because Pluto being in Capricorn now, it's dispositing Saturn's energy. Saturn rules Capricorn, and Saturn's retrograding in Pisces. So it's slippery. Remember the last time that we saw Saturn and Neptune in Pisces was in 1523. So we have all these transits that are very old. And also, this is a 500-year-old transit the last time we saw Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. And here comes the retrograde. And of course, the two planets that caused 2020 and the world to change forever was Saturn and Pluto. And what makes it interesting is because Pluto was in Aquarius from March 23rd up until just a couple weeks ago, you have to remember that Saturn started to feel like, oh, I'm out of Pluto's grips. Thank God. But with Saturn retrograding back to 0 degrees of Pisces this year, and Pluto only going back to 27 degrees, we're tightening up that orb of how close Saturn is getting to Pluto. So the extremes are coming back, whether you like it or not. That's one way to look at it. But I think a lot of it is about, don't let yourself get into shame about what's happened in the past. This is also about looking at things that really probably would have actually, if you're still holding on to something that you wish upon your little star in your soul, that would be the most beautiful thing, that was actually a horrible thing. You need to get back into that better frame of things about, look at what you have now. Everything that has transpired to this point in your personal life, your relationships, your job, every aspect, especially with Venus, that's just literally about to come into its shadow period at 12 degrees of Leo. We have to remember that this is a very major moment pre this new moon, especially during this balsamic phase that's closing out really quick. It's also a point for us to remember that this is so many phases that are very old and also at the same time new, right? Like this is a new Saturn Neptune that happened to be in Pisces. This is a new Venus retrograde cycle in Leo. You have not been alive and ever seen Venus station retrograde in Leo. So this station, this shadow that is approaching in the next month, but especially just in the next couple of days with the shadow, is nothing you've ever lived through before. Neither has Saturn and Pisces being in the same sign, and with Pluto dispositing Saturn and being so far out there as a slow outer planet and hanging at the cusp of a long 15.5-year transit already, Saturn has a big role in all of this. Even when you have planets like, of course, Mercury, which is in its home and it's happy there. It's on top of Antares, but it's kind of an weird moment that, Aldebaran. It's kind of weird, though, that it's not going to be exactly conjunct that star. It's going to already have passed that when the new moon happens. It's going to make good sextiles here to Venus, but it's almost like we're getting a message. And we're getting a message on this new moon. And I know that the new moon in Gemini already is about messages. But it's a message about remembering not your sensitive past, what could have been, but it's about remembering what you have now. That's great. To make it beautiful. To look at the facts that are very simple, happy, loving, and also the courage to go experience how much more life can bloom in your life, instead of looking at this south node that's still in Scorpio. And by the way, these nodes are starting to really square Pluto, and they're going to get really intense here in less than a month when the nodes are about to shift into Aries and Libra and square Pluto. But there's a lot of extremes here that really don't have to be so extreme. You know, I feel like anything that might feel like you're lost, or that you're feeling off, or that you're feeling weird about things, and erase the world for 1 second and erase what's happening out there in a world that probably 100%, actually at this point, we have no idea what the fuck it really is. Let's be honest. What we've seen in the last 2 weeks, what we've seen in the last 3 years, nothing anymore actually is really what it is. So you just have to erase that for a second, and you have to look at your life at this point and go, am I really starting to create now my own illusion? What if this world that everybody goes, gosh, it's been an illusion, and it is, but it's been created by other people that were illusions. We don't want to be part of that. So this Mercury message that's happening, Saturn stationing retrograde, it technically is on Aldebaran right when that's happening. It's the courage to really blossom and bloom, and to remember not the pride, but remember that this is a Venus Leo we have not seen since the 1840s. That was the last time Venus retrograded. But of course, it was near the beginning of Leo and went back into Cancer. So the actual full term Venus retrograde through the whole sign of Leo last time was in 1812, during the War of 1812. And it does feel a little bit weird about invasions. It does feel a little bit weird about 1772 and the revolution and Sam Adams getting everyone together. And at the same time, the first banking crisis of the credit system of the Western world. There's a lot of these things here, but the message is to stay true to the facts of what's exciting in your life, what's fresh, what's actually made it through. The illusion is hoping or thinking something can make it through that didn't. I'm going to say that one more time. The problem in this astrology for people is not what they're actually looking at. It's your subconscious aspect that thinks something could pass through that didn't make it. We have been dealing with things that make it and don't make it. This is time to only focus on what has, what you already have. Jupiter and Saturn in sextile is amazing. Remember, we're only going to get this cycle quick through this weekend. And by Monday, when Venus goes into its shadow, Jupiter will already have made its exact sextile, and that's it. Jupiter will not, in its retrograde, when it comes back to 5 degrees to station direct on New Year's Eve, won't come back to sextile Saturn in an exact sextile. So you have to remember, there's a lot of things happening all at once, cycle-wise, with phases that we haven't seen in 500 years, since 1772. Even Jupiter and Uranus, Jupiter North Node was 1929. Jupiter, Uranus, and Taurus has been forever. Neptune and Pisces at this high degree was in the 1850s and 1857 going into 1858. Of course, that was when the country started to get into a civil war. And no, I know people go, well, no, the Civil War was right after Lincoln was elected in 1860 and Neptune going into Aries. You have to remember, it's what has been the buildup, especially the self-undoing or the last degrees. This is where people can create some very crazy energies, whether it's religious aspects going too far. That's what we saw in 1523 with the Heretic Act. And creating this especially for people like me and everybody out there else on YouTube and other spiritual places, us that do tarot, astrology, there is a complete movement in the religious movement right now to make us all in connection as being, as they call witchcraft. If you do numbers, if you do astrology, if you do, you're bad, they're the devil. So I've warned you all about this. This Saturn retrograde with Neptune, that's also not moving much. I mean, let's be real. This is all just by Saturn stationing retrograde at 10:27 a.m. on Saturday, June 17th. It's already been weird. Look at all the whistleblowers that have come out from Dr. Stephen Greer. Who knows if that whistleblower from the UAP task force is real or an implant? I trust those guys who just came out on Dr. Stephen Greer more than that guy. But we have just learned the wildest. Everything from time itself doesn't line anymore with what we think. If they have communication that's faster than the speed of light, if they're using energy weapons, if they are using especially energy itself in different ways, all of the world that we've looked at is not even what we've thought. So you've got to be careful out there, because this is definitely a time where it is weird. And with this new moon that's building up to be at 26 degrees, it's in square to Neptune. And that causes a mental, psychological fracture. You don't have to go through that though. And this is going to be a month long. The reason why, this new moon exactly happening at 9:37 p.m. Pacific. So that'll be happening on the 18th around, midnight and 37 minutes East Coast. And if you're in Australia or whatever, it's happening on your Sunday at night. And this is before a solstice, let's not forget. But 26 degrees happening here of Gemini. We're seeing a very, very tight square here to Neptune that's in Pisces. Neptune's not moving. Neptune's the next planet to go retrograde, let's not forget. So it's only doing 25 seconds a day. We now have Saturn that has just retrograded, and there's no more that we can really do to continue to keep building on from new energy. It's stuff that we've already been putting our efforts forward since October of 2022. So with Neptune being in Pisces, the ruler of Pisces, stopping in square to this new moon, it lasts the month, the new moon, right? So this next month is going to be the weirdest month of all of our lives. You already thought it was weird. You already thought it was weirder, or maybe it's going to take a little bit more time. Let's not forget that it's the moment Saturn stationing. So this new moon also is like a verification stamp of like the whole month of feeling Saturn in station, stopped, retrograde, square to Neptune that's stationing, stopped, not retrograde, ruling Pisces, and making things feel very cloudy to say the least. But can we get through this? Yeah, the truth here of Mercury, the facts, isn't a nice sextile with Venus, although it's made its approach and it's already at separating, but Venus is slow. Venus is slower than the sun right now from geo perspective. We're seeing Venus here at 49. We're not seeing Venus go fast at all. This is the last degree of Venus before she enters her shadow. This is also a new moon with the moon itself. Because we still have the nodes, the north node of the moon here in the northern part, we have got a moon at 27 degrees, way out of bounds. So you have a new moon out of bounds. You have in Gemini, you have Mercury, the ruler, in there going fast. Mercury hasn't even caught full speed yet. Mercury's in its own house. It's approaching the sun. It's fast. It's like the quickest little page telling Venus, good luck, bitch. Fucking, and Leo, Venus laughing like, thanks. Hasn't been here since the 1840s, like to retrograde. Oh, when was the last time you went through that whole thing? 1812, it didn't go down well. Yeah, Napoleon was around, right? Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, fucking, when was the last time that you went like retrograde and started a whole thing? 1772. Have a fun time. Nobody remembers what the fashion was, what relationships were like, what love truly was like. The good news I feel that we're going to see in the approach of this Venus retrograde is what everybody's been wanting. The old school. Well, are you sure you're really ready for that? You know, this is definitely bringing a message. Jupiter, of course, and Saturn during this new moon, in awesome sextile with Jupiter and Taurus. And of course, Venus dispositing so much of that Taurus energy, especially the North Node's energy in Taurus. Jupiter, North Node making their separation. And we're seeing Venus and Jupiter, though, remember, in a square throughout this Venus retrograde. We've only seen the first of the 3 squares. So there's a lot that we have to learn about what is good. And I think a lot of it is very simple. It's in the areas that actually we create in our mind, that we over dramatize, that we overlook at too much, that we think too much in the past, or we try to compile some sort of information that really makes no sense to actually what's important in our lives. You know, it's like one of those things to where it's like, what if my life would have gone down that road? That's very Saturn station retrograde in Pisces, past. What if it would have gone down that road? And especially having this new moon squaring Neptune, all these questions, and a moon that's out of bounds. Don't get out of bounds. This is where Mercury and Venus can help, and Jupiter and Saturn can help, and say, what's the good stuff you have in front of you now? Love it. Stop looking at what's happened. Stop looking at what didn't work out. Stop looking at all these things, because with Pluto here, sitting at 29 degrees of Capricorn, and we're going to see Pluto here until January 20th, until it ingresses back into Aquarius, and then, of course, it comes back September 1st into Capricorn of 2024. So you're not done. You're not done. You're not even close to done. If you think you're done, or you think you've moved on to this new energy fully, you haven't. This is about only the most important roads, only the most important things in life that we are moving forward with to pay attention to, period. So really, this is the new moon that I would call getting rid of all of your stupid ideas and stupid subconscious thoughts about the what ifs, or why is this happening, or taking something that is stupid and over dramatizing it emotionally because you want attention, 1, or 2, you don't know how to communicate in a different way, 3, because you're somebody who really isn't happy, so you're actually trying to get happiness through attention that really is not worth wanting to build with. This could be the most beautiful moment in your life. Nobody's seeing the beautiful aspect with Jupiter sextile Saturn. You know, it's like we've wanted our dreams to come true. Think of Jupiter and Saturn when they conjuncted in 2020. That was the ultimate wish. This is saying that this new moon is the almost mentally impossible to see, yet it is not impossible. It's because you're still looking like a 4 of cups for another wish, when the wish you wished for has now shown you it came true. It's time to go experience the wish. It's time to go live the wish, instead of look at everything in your life like, look at the world, look at my life. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? And honestly, this is where that sensitivity we can't have anymore in such an extreme sense, especially in our minds. Mental health is probably the biggest concern during this transit, because if you look at it, this is some pretty extreme Gemini, Neptune squares. And I remember the last Venus retrograde that, of course, was Virgo, 0 degrees back into Leo through the whole thing. But that was in 2015. And if you don't remember, it was Mercury retrograde in Gemini, and it was squaring Neptune. It was squaring Chiron that was in Pisces. And I remember the new moon squaring Neptune and squaring Chiron then. And so even though we're not in a Mercury retrograde, it feels like a Mercury retrograde. But really what it is all the doubts, all these places where you're creating your thoughts to run amok are not worth it at all. Jupiter and Saturn are here to deliver you the ultimate, and you're still concerned about things that really don't matter, or really are just what ifs, or really are just questioning, the universe, instead of going with the universe and being like, look at what I got in front of me. I have every option available to make my life the ultimate dream. And spiritually, this is a great moment to implement your spirituality more, to really stake a claim about your spirituality and the values that we all bring in equal understanding with Uranus and Taurus, Jupiter and Taurus, that we all bring something to this huge table to make this world better, instead of focusing on the stupid little thing that broke, the little weird issue that is plaguing your mind about your worries or anything that you start getting lost into mental health wise, because you don't want to look at the good stuff that's happening. So this is going to be extremely important for people to really realize, because this is really one of the weirdest new moons I've ever seen, since it is squaring Neptune in Pisces, the ruler of Pisces. It is at the moments before Venus is going to go into shadow for the first time in all of our lives, of Venus retrograde in Leo, and the beginning of a whole entire Venus cycle of retrogrades in Leo. No more Virgos for the rest of our life. So that means, if you think with Saturn stationing and going retrograde in Pisces, what does that mean? Virgo is not happening. It's just like if you look at the last 3 years when Saturn was in Aquarius, we all wanted to be like Leo King out there, right? Fun, positive, happy, and not scared, and not walking around looking like an idiot wearing a mask and falling for fucking alien. Oh, I mean, military. I mean, you know, the things the doctors gave out that was from the military that happened to be colluded with this weird shadow alien government thing. Yeah, that Leo energy that would never fall for that shit. But no, we're in Virgo energy that is not there. So the perfection in your life that you want it to be, nothing's perfect. It's sloppy. It's sloppy. The bed doesn't get made every day. It's okay. The dishes won't get made every day. It's okay. Not everything is going to go exactly to plan. Not every schedule is going to work out. Not every little thing that you want to work the way that you want it to work in your little understanding of a reality that, to be honest with you, this is what makes it ironic. There is no more reality we ever knew anymore. It's gone. We're all sitting in a suspension place, like up on a cloud with Timothy Leary fucking taking some of the bomb-ass LSD and fucking seeing what really is there. So, and you could be enriching your life and being focused on the now. But of course, there's a reflective energy of Neptune here with this new moon squaring it in Pisces that's basically stopped. I mean, of course, it's not technically stationing, but it's the next planet to be ticked off, right? And remember, I've said it, and of course, if you're on High Vibe every day, you know, and all my deep astrologies every week, and all my special reports and everything that I do, you might not know if you're out there in the YouTube world, this year is the retrograde hell. So this is also the entry point for us into realizing that for the rest of the year, especially this whole entire solstice period that's coming into when we get to the equinox, we are going to be in a extreme retrograde season that makes last year's retrograde season, which was already so intense and rare, this one adds it to even more rare. So, you know, we're not going to be feeling like things are moving forward as much as all. The things that you're bringing already forward that have already been moving forward or will continue moving forward. But trying to bring some new thing forward exactly the way you want to that wasn't already seated in thought, seated in putting your hands in the dirt and creating with, or seeding in things where you're still lost, instead in trying to seed your thoughts of the past and hoping that they'll come back, it ain't gonna happen. Sorry. Pluto's definitely cutting things off in Capricorn. That's what's hard about Capricorn, right? It's like the ultimate adult in the room here, and it's on steroids, right? It's like, you know, stop being neurotic. Stop trying to live in your past. Stop trying to. It reminds me of nostalgic energy, right? of course, like there's a part of me that loves nostalgia of being a Leo, right? Like it's like I always want to be running around with spiky hair, fucking running around on ecstasy, fucking smoking a Marlboro Red and fucking saying fuck yeah to the sickest fucking tracks and the fucking best rave. But you know, sorry, there's no more candy raves anymore. Sorry, people are so afraid of each other they don't even know how to talk to each other. They just text each other. They won't even fucking go into a fucking cuddle puddle if I even tried. So we can live in that nostalgic energy all we want, but that's not going to do us any good. You know, this is definitely going to bring up a lot of the past, but it's about the understanding of the present and what you're doing with it and using the past reflections about how great those moments were, having the Jupiter and Taurus appreciation. And also with Uranus now at 21 degrees, you know, so many things are happening in the astrology. It's kind of like the same way that the stories are happening in the world, right? It's like this story comes out, then that one, and then that one, and this one, and then this one, and this one, right? It's like the planets are doing the same thing. It's like, well, Uranus just slipped to 21 degrees. We've never been here fucking since all the way back. Oh, yeah, World War II. But... oh gosh, Chiron's already at 19 and a half. Oh my gosh, about to stage retrograde too. Oh my God, it's only going to 1957 this year. What the fuck? Oh, Neptune's already at 27 and 38 minutes. It's almost done too. Oh my gosh. You know, so like this is also a very important time because it's the battle of this domicile energies, Mercury in Gemini and Neptune in Pisces. And then Pisces is going to win. Neptune's stronger because, of course, Saturn's in there. And Pluto is in Capricorn, dispositing it and helping it, you know. Now, you could put up a big fight and say, oh, but the sun, of course, is in Gemini, and we've got this Mars-Venus energy in Leo, and you can look at a dispositing aspect that way. But Venus is slow. Mars and Venus are not going to meet up. Let's not forget that. We saw that 2 years ago, but then, of course, that was short-lived by the Venus retrograde in Capricorn. That brought us a Mars-Venus in Capricorn, and then a Mars-Venus in Aquarius, where we're going to have another Mars-Venus in the beginning of 2024. So this is kind of a, especially, and I'll just put it out there already for people, with the South Node getting ready to come into Libra, with Venus and Mars not going to meet up in Leo. If you've tried to enter into some sort of love or romantic relationship, or you're going to try and enter a relationship over the next couple months, it's just going to be the most failed shit of ever. And it's going to look too good to be true for some people. And especially for people who are still hung up on their ex or hung up on the past. It could look so good right now or so enticing and starting to build up. And really, you're walking into the biggest trap and the biggest, worst situation of your whole entire life. So I hope that really gives you a good perspective about this new moon more than it's a little confusing. It's a lot more. It's massive phases. And phases we haven't seen in 500 years, phases we haven't seen since... Really, I look at the 1772 because we're beginning a Venus retrograde cycle and the first Venus retrograde in Leo in our lives. So, you know, it's been since then. That also aligns very well when Pluto was in Capricorn. And ironically, that was also when Mars was in Virgo. I did this all on High Vibe. You can watch it on my Deep Astrology 2 weeks ago. I went very deep into over 2 hours of all the Venus retrograde cycles throughout the last 2,000 years. And unfortunately, we are in a very final moment at the same time, a new moment. But what we're at is to see Venus and Mars not connect in Leo, where Mars will be in Virgo by the time that Venus comes to 28 degrees and stations retrograde. Last time we saw that with a Pluto Capricorn was all the way back in 1772. But farther back than that was in the year of, what was that, 509, I think it was. I have it somewhere in here, but I think it was back in 509 or 514. I think it's 509. And yeah, 0509. And that was the beginning of all the big, dark, black plagues that destroyed Constantinople. And all those Christian people who created a religion off Constantine, embedding himself as the God of that represented Jesus. So, didn't work out too well. And the killing of lots of Jews and all these crazy things. And you should probably do your history if you didn't know about all that stuff. If you didn't know. Most people don't. So, the other times that we had Mars and Virgo with Venus retrograde, but we have to, or not Venus retrograde, Sun-Venus conjunction, actually, because we'll have a Sun-Venus conjunction, but it'll, of course, be a cazimi, not an inferior conjunction. But with Mars and Virgo and Pluto and Capricorn was 1282. Oh, man, that's exactly almost as close to 1284 as Saturn Pluto. Oh, yeah, it was. And then, of course, 1517, when Saturn and Pluto also were in Capricorn. So we are entering into the final stage of afterburners and locking and loading into the end of the world we knew completely. And this is the new moon that really, if you want to go on the deeper level, since that's why you watch me, this is the confusion of the subconscious programmed world you thought you lived in that's come to its end. And there is no more going back. The more you try to grip into the past, and the reason why I bring up Timothy Leary and floating on a cloud with him and doing some good LSD would be, if anybody out there's ever done true LSD and the LSD that Timothy used to do with the guys up in fucking Santa Cruz, fucking orange sunshine, you would know that moment is when you don't ever see reality the same again, and you get to rewrite reality, and the world that you knew it at that point never is the same. And so I think what's hard right now is there's a lot of humans on this planet who, and it's not about psychedelics, even though minorly it is, very minor, but you don't have to do there to ascend to these places. But there's a lot of people on this planet right now that don't get that they are never going back to the world that they thought it was. And one, it was not even the world that you actually thought it was ever. And this is the end of it with this Venus transit that's beginning. And at the same time, this new moon, to me, square Neptune is the most basic new moon I've ever seen, of just realizing on a wider scale, if you look around, like Mercury would at least do in a hermetic way with the sextile to Venus, that is the North Node dispositor with Jupiter there, is that there's a wider picture here. And this wider picture is really the ultimate picture. And also at the same time, and this might sound crazy, but there's so much, but you have Mars at the same time too, of course, that's at 16 degrees here, but it's Venus that's going to be conjuncting the planetary node, the North Node of Neptune, while it's in a sesquiquadrate to Neptune. Now, we all have to focus on the beautiful world that we are creating, because there is a programmed world that was not beautiful. So if anything, it is warped in the sense of that anybody's still stuck on the past way that it was done, and the way that you think the nostalgic energy is the most unhappy place there ever was. It's your unhappiness that's attached to that world. Your unhappiness that still wants to try and bring that world into this one, which unfortunately would be the worst and most detrimental experience for all of us on the planet. So please don't continue to be on that path. Please. And my biggest concern is going to be the religious community, that when the issues and the situations come up, and maybe they do look into the history, which actually has been written for a long time about all of it. And I'm not putting down Jesus or God, because I'm extremely connected to that. Just the story and the way that these things have happened are going to be crushing, to say the least. Whether it's Reformation transits of Venus with all the aspects that are happening, or Saturn-Pluto aspects like 1517, or Venus starting the same sort of retrograde with actually Jupiter in Taurus, with Pluto in Capricorn, with Mars that'll be in Virgo, with the same Venus-Mars that don't conjunct in Leo. Unfortunately, the plague that took out Constantinople, and already Rome was already gone by the Goths taking it, but it was the last hurrah, right? So this is definitely going to be some spiritual heavyweight times, because you have to be understanding that time is a lie, The only time that actually is constant and true is the divine one that's right in front of you. It's always been the one. And not having the attachment to the past in every single aspect of it, it's a great place to reflect off of and bounce your soul ideas and have those moments of nostalgic. But it's about not building based off wasting your energy and hoping that some sort of nostalgic energy will come back. You must go create a new energy, and you must go create what you have in front of you, which is the ultimate wish that was already wished upon in December of 2020. But I bet you didn't hear that anywhere else. Everybody else was just talking some shit. Just to try and get some fucking TikTok views. Jupiter and Saturn Sunday, that's it. This is going to be where we're going to see Jupiter finally by the end of day make that sextile. That new moon's going to end, and that moon's going to come into Cancer and make its ingress. But what's crazy to me is seeing that the sun squares Neptune right after this new moon. So this is an extended feeling of a new moon, even though it's not one where we're seeing, the sun shift into the solstice, thank God, while this is happening. But this is also the last day of Venus before she enters into 12 degrees and starts heading into a very extended period of staying in around these degrees more than any other degree. So, and since the North Node is in Taurus, this is the culmination of this North Node in Taurus is coming to its close. So everything's closing down and leaving you with what made it through, which is the biggest wish of your life. So this should be a moment where you should not have no issues and no trip outs, and start having some solid understanding that nothing's pulling it away from you. The only thing that's going to pull something away from you is yourself and your own self-undoing. Your own fears, your own thoughts, your own thinking, whether it's money, jobs, relationships, the life that you want. Again, not the life in the program world, but the life to where you're going to be freaking yourself out about, oh my God, like, I can't believe this is going to happen, and that's going to fucking, and this is going to take me down, and oh my, like, you're the one going to create your own disharmony, to say the least, because you're not paying attention to the gifts and mainly the wish that you made that came true. It's right in front of you. Came true. And if you're not happy at this moment, and you don't think that you found what you were looking for, then I will just be because I'm that astrologer that's been with you for over a decade and always been true to you and always will call people out and say, you fucked up. You fucked up really bad. Like, you can use this new moon to let go, have no shame, and be like, you know what? The greatest wish of my life is here. I just need to not look for it. I have to actually accept. That's the other part of Pisces, acceptance. Accept that this is what it is and see that Jupiter's here to expand and show you over an experience with Uranus, the wildest, this is going to be the most extremely amazing times, but it's not going to be in the way that it was programmed for us to see. You have to see through that. I mean, if you went through the last 3 years and you fell for that shit, well, you're going to have the worst fucking time. If you literally had the best 3 years of your life by living freely and not falling for shit and being so spiritually awake and knowing that the ultimate wishes and the greatest creations and the work that Jupiter and Uranus here are going to do for us in Taurus of showing us the most wildest ride in the wilderness, literally, and in the world, and a world that we didn't even contemplate before, it's going to be exciting. And that you got all the energy that's right in front of you to go through it with. So I know that it's hard, though. There's things that didn't make it through. There's people that didn't make it through. There's situations that didn't make it through. But you're going to have to remember that they're on the other side with you. Or maybe in this life, they at least did the nice thing and gave you a nice, energetic, positive chord that taught you a lot, and at the same time support you energetically forever. It's like the same way when you move in a house. You light your sage and you ask for blessings in that house. You remove your energy and you hope that whoever lives in this place next has the best blessed life. And if they don't, that you don't want that energy coming back to you. I mean, this is kind of what makes it simple yet not. And there's a lot of weird aspects I could go on for hours with. I mean, with Uranus even in semi-square to the sun here, and the sun in semi-square to Venus. And, this makes things very complicated, right? Like, and Mars on its way to start squaring Uranus, and Venus and Jupiter that'll be in square throughout this retrograde, and even, watching Venus that will be in square to Uranus multiple times. This isn't like 2015 with all the Scorpio shit with Saturn that was in Scorpio that had just retrograded back then. And we had Jupiter, remember, in Leo, and here's Jupiter and Venus now in square. So to me, it's the Jupiter-Saturn sextile is the better benefic blessing that we're seeing now, which is a big one because it's a 20-year transit. And this is the first quarter of finally seeing, not even the quarter yet, but at least the first sextile here, finally starting to see abundance. But most people won't see it. Most people will bypass it. Most people will be looking and chasing like a Venus in Leo at its fullest speed that it's pretty much going to go, and Venus slapping down and thinking that Venus will catch up with Mars, which it won't in Leo. So if you're chasing or you're hoping something will happen, give it up. Save yourself from undoing yourself. Let's see what's in the cards. So hope that helped people, because and then you have Pluto and Capricorn here, which is gonna fucking pull anything that isn't destined from you anyway. So it's like, but I think the best part about Pluto and Capricorn is like, why would you worry about it? If it would have been gone, it would have been gone already. It's the mind that's tripping on things that already left, or that you aren't looking at, or that you're looking at that you're hoping for something to go bad. Instead, when you think, no, I don't want it to go bad, but it's like, no, you're asking for it to go bad. You're demanding Pluto, like, take this away from me, because all I'm thinking about is the craziness that I'm going to lose my house, or I'm going to lose this, or I'm going to lose that, because you're getting wired into a fucking AI fucking alien system that is just spatting all the craziest disinformation of all time, and you're fucking believing it. So just like most people did 3 years ago, and like, I think that the most craziest thing that we're going to see here in the next year and a half especially is, people think it's all over. It ain't over. It's now going to be the exposing of what they did to a lot of people, and that it is nothing even close to what you could fathom. Not even close. Not even what people are going to want to hear. So, like, just be prepared for that. Like, think of that in the gnarliest way. Especially with shot down weird ships and the weird entities in there that are actually friendlies, but really, quote unquote, genetically re-engineered. The same way they're re-engineering the technology to try and have some ego power to control things, don't want to be controlled by the aliens, and have good excuses by it, and have a good enough excuse to think that they could master their technology and inject people with it. Hope you have a wonderful new moon in Pisces, in Gemini. That's just some truth, though, but I don't think people are ready yet. I mean, I already said this for years, and I'm never afraid to say what I say, and I say it all the fucking time. So, I'm not afraid of what the fuck people think. I'm not afraid of fucking calling the shit out. I'm not afraid of the track record that's been true. And now that we're seeing, everything from the exposing of a shadow government that took over the fucking government we thought we had, I mean, like, and the weirdness, if you watch Stephen Greer's press conference, and one of the whistleblowers talking about all the drug trade and the crazy trafficking through UFOs, but the weird part that they all weren't wearing military insignia. Who wasn't wearing military insignia during the election or the inauguration? You can look it up yourself. That's the shadow government. So, you know, when people tell me, Leo King, you were wrong about the election. Oh, just wait. I have no problem sitting and waiting. And most people know, but the fucking crazy people who are still locked into this crazy psychotic mess and believing a fucking crazy AI fucking distributed computer system that literally has exposed itself. And really, remember, it's not really alien. It's a fucking dark shadow government fucking that literally is using technology to fucking portray and act like it's the government when it's not. So you have to realize, like, that finally got verified for me in this last week. And I'm like, thank God. I've been trying to tell this to people for fucking years, and everybody has given me the fucking fuck you, Leo King, fuck you. And literally, finally, a whistleblower comes out and is talking, not saying that, but saying, yeah, I don't know. Why were all these UFO situations with all these US government officials, but they weren't wearing insignias and they were in military outfits, but without insignias? And I'm like, oh my God, the last time I saw that was on Joe Biden's fucking inauguration that was locked up, that nobody could watch, and that was pre-taped, and that was only one feed. And it was a 3-gun salute with a foreign entity in the Arlington Cemetery. The last time I saw that, it was in front of your face. They exposed themselves in front of your face. It's not that the election was fraud. You know what it was? There was no fucking election. There was a full takeover of the shadow government to the highest level. But if you're not ready for that kind of shit, well, this new moon ain't for you. Fucking, you know what I mean? Like, this new moon ain't for you. You know what I mean? Like, have fun. Like, go back into your little fucking really sensitive, you know, like fragmented mind that, honestly, what a boring life that would be. You know what I mean? Like, then don't take it so personally either. You know what I mean? Like, geez, like, we're just having some fun talking astrology, right? I mean, I don't know if I'd really want to, like, hold on to that fucking matrix pod so much and the fucking crazy ass fucking connection to your fucking brain with that. I mean, you know, and the frequencies and the brain waves that they keep throwing through you to fuck with your brain waves, like, and the cosmic rays that keep coming from the sun. And I mean, we can go on for hours. But, you know, that's why I created highvibe.tv and the apps. And our app is better than Rumble and all these things. And it has a full community. And it is full blown where you can talk about this stuff and connect with others. And it's not cheesy either. It's not even close. It's like, but if you want to sit here in YouTube world watching everybody say the same old shit and fucking, I get it. But when you're ready to fucking break out and fucking see and hear the truth, which you did see me here on YouTube always bring, and I do still show up, but it's like, I fucking can only give you so much. I mean, I could literally, I've already talked, I don't know, this month on there, fucking like over 100 hours. So I can't do that right now. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can have like your little dish of it. Like, here's your little hors d'oeuvre, and not even the whole plate of hors d'oeuvres. Here's your little hot dog on a stick, like a little piece of it, and have it. There you go. But if you really want to, like, fucking have the real deal and come with the light and fucking come with the collective and get out of this crazy fucking mess and use the astrology and use the spiritual gifts that you want to watch through a fucking vessel on YouTube that isn't spiritual and is trying to get rid of spirituality and banning our brothers and sisters who speak truth, then be part of that. I am just a Palladian messenger that is literally just giving the message in the shadows. That's what this place is. And just giving you and not forcing anybody to do shit, but offering the invitation to, do you really want to come to a place that actually is of the light with others, that we look at each other all in the same light and we all go through this together? Or do you just want to be your own little self-fragmented as a commenter in a crazy ass YouTube with a bunch of fucking astrologers who really don't want to go that deep. They don't. They're too scared. So let's see what we got card-wise for this new moon. Well, we got the Four of Swords. Yeah, you know what? There is nothing to trip out on. There is zero to trip out on. I feel like we are really restoring our energy by understanding the mind, by actually accepting like what's actually happening. And I feel like that this is a moment for us to be only in a safe space when we are truly doing all of our deepest spiritual work. That would definitely be the Saturn station, retrograde in Pisces. But at the same time, I feel like, you know, this card has so much more meaning to it as well. It's also a place of you know, appreciation and shelter that comes because you lie there before battle, you lie there after you survive battle. So there is a need right now to really put yourself into accepting what the gift is that you have in front of your life instead of trying to run away or think yourself into some other place that actually isn't that safe. Accept where you're at and what you already have that's so beautiful. Three of Cups in reversed. Yeah, this is not a time to go try and be social in a crazy way and get drunk especially. I didn't even mention any of the drugs or alcohol aspect to not even get even close to. But I will say that this is not a time to just go run around trying to look for fucking people to fucking like in a neurotic way to go like just try and like find something to be fun, or if you're just wasting your time sitting around fucking not knowing what to fucking do, like this is definitely not the time for that. It's also not the time for you to make some giant leap towards some new belief or more fucking religious aspect. A lot of people are gonna think it's end of days and jump to wherever they can find safety. So that safety's within you and God, that you have within yourself with God, like, and with others that are in that same kind of space, and that don't judge you for whatever it is. The difference here that people, I think, because I'm a 5-1, might not get clearly is I have nothing against religion. I have the problem of the judgment from religion. When, you know, if you were to round up the astrologers of all time, the astrologers have not judged. The astrologers have not gone after people. They have not tried to kill other people, let alone try and ban the worship of anything. If anything, we have all been, through all the ages, the supporters of people to worship however they want to, the divine. We're just the guides of making sure that, you know, you understand what's going on. And, you know, I have nothing against people who are. But, you know, at the same time, we're not witches that are the way that it's brought out to be. We are not demonic. We are not any of those terms that are being thrown around. And I'm not going to just sit here and let people fucking do it on the internet. And I'm not going to just sit here and watch these, well, I'll call them wannabe Christians on YouTube, create Dolores Cannon like. It's like Dolores Cannon is rounding all the Christians up in the world to fucking tell them that we're all demonic. And I'm not going to accept it, and I'm not going to allow it, and I'm going to stand up against it. And I'm always going to stand up against what's against humanity and our freedom and our truth and our wholesomeness. But what blows my mind is nobody is speaking about this. Everybody's speaking about very deep issues, the children issues that are happening, the way the government's trying to fucking claim children now, the way that the government is not even our government, let's not forget, it's a shadow government now that is doing all this and laughing at you. But what they're really trying to do is get you in these other spots that you need to pay more attention to. You know, they really want to get people like me and you out there out of here, which I warned about in 2020 and prior. I've got all the receipts, and it's happening. I appreciate you all. Make sure you join us on High Vibe. We'd love to have you in the community. The apps do everything and more than you could even ever dream. If you're somebody who used to be on and you're like, I don't know, like it's taken me 9 years to get these apps fucking like dialed. So, and I've listened to every single, and I've been so blessed for all of you out there who are subscribers or prior subscribers. or just follow me on YouTube. But please go check out and see what we've built. It's beyond. That's why you haven't been seeing me much, because I forgot that YouTube existed. No joke. And that's how you know when you make something good. Maybe use this Jupiter Saturn and find a gift that will definitely keep on giving. I love you all very much. Much love. See you all on the next one. Much love to you and your family. Stay positive out there. There's going to be a lot of chaos, and you have to know how to work through the mental and emotional chaos out there and the sensitivities. Much love. Adios.
Okay. Monster.